Hello and welcome to today's training. We're going to go through some health and safety guidance and our new club operation procedures in light of the coronavirus. And we're going to make sure that every single team member on our team that works with kids does take this training so that we can all keep each other safe. My name is Katie Welch. I am the Director of Program Services for our organization, and there's my email below. Throughout this training, I would love it if you could take out a piece of paper and a pen so that you can jot down any questions that come up for you. You can always pause this and write down, flush your questions out because it's important that all of us have a shared understanding. And then you can either email me your questions and I can reach out, or you can save those questions and bring them to club to discuss with your club lead. Our agenda today is made up of these bullets. We're going to kind of look at our club logistics. What does it look like now? We're going to go through a day at a club. What does it look like in this new world? We're going to talk about our virus prevention procedures that we have in place at our open clubs. And we're going to answer the question of what should I do if I'm not feeling good? Should I stay home? We're going to go through what will happen if there is a coronavirus case that is positive at club. And then we're going to talk through our staff waiver, and there'll be time at the end for you to write down more questions. So we do get questions in the community about, why is the Boys and Girls Club open when not all the schools are open? And I understand that question, but we have some key differences with schools that we should outline to help you understand. Our schools have sometimes classrooms filled with 30 members or 30 students at a time in a small space where it's not really, they're not able to social distance. At Boys and Girls Club, we can actually limit our ratio to set it up so that everybody can be safe. And our organization really does. We exist to identify and fill gaps in the community and to ensure that every child is set up for success. So we have these open clubhouses. We have partners that are allowing us space on school campuses. So if we can be out there to meet the needs in our community, why wouldn't we? Here's just a snapshot that is changing constantly of the kind of a short list of all of our clubs we do have open. You can see that some of them are clubhouses and others are located on school sites. We do have some clubs that are open only until 3 p.m. That's during the school day, and others that have classes that stay through extended care, so into the evening till 5:30. The column with the cohorts possible, that's showing how many kind of individual independent groups of kids there are on each campus. So each of those cohorts is made up of 1 or 2 team members, like an AM and PM shift, and 12 to 15 kids. And each of them is kind of their own little pod at Boys and Girls Club. Here is a brief overview of a sample schedule for the day in one of our clubs. So at 7:30, we have the staff starting to arrive. Staff are coming in, doing a health screening. They're washing their hands, and they start prepping for self-guided activities. Those are independent activities for members to do when they're done with their schoolwork. Then from around 8 o'clock, we start getting our first members. They arrive. They conduct the same exact health screening. They come and wash their hands and turn on their laptops and get prepared for Zoom. As they're coming in, we're doing a warm welcome and we're checking in with our members and making sure that they feel comfortable and that we have a chance to kind of authentically recognize and see each member. Then from 8:30 to 12:15 and also 12:45 to 2:45, we are basically supporting members on their Zoom meeting. So they're meeting at specific times. Each member might have a different schedule of classes that they need to attend. So we're helping them stay on track as well as supporting them with their independent work that they do in between their Zoom class meetings. Some members are finishing earlier, some members are finishing later. So we're also providing them with self-guided activities that they can do in between classes and independent work. We're also trying to look for opportunities to get them outside, play, and get to engage in some fun stuff as well, not just distance learning. And then around 3 o'clock, some of the kids do get picked up. So the classes are organized between extended care and school day groups. So some of the groups will close because they are just there for the school day, and others may stay for extended care. And for extended care, that is more open. While members might have some schoolwork to finish, mostly we're doing some traditional Boys and Girls Club activities, such arts and crafts, sports, games, and other types of fun stuff. So this slide shows you a little bit of the meat of what distance learning is right now in Boys and Girls Club. This is the work that our team is doing right now with kids. On the right-hand side, you'll see that most classrooms are set up in a similar configuration where kids are sitting 6 feet apart from each other. These tables are 6 feet long, and they have their own sets of materials. They have crayons, markers, scissors that are just theirs, and the team members are walking around and they're supporting members with getting onto their Zoom classes with their teachers and then helping them complete their independent work outside of those meetings. So we are walking around and we are busy. On the left, you'll see there are 2 members that are actually brothers that are doing a speech class together. You'll notice that those kids are not 6 feet apart. That is because they are in the same family, so it's not as structured for them. So at some clubs you might see family members or cousins sitting together at a table a little bit closer. But in general, most of our classrooms do look like the one on the right because we're trying to set a classroom culture where members know the norms and this is what's expected. So as kids are finishing with their independent work, we are asking them if they want to go outside and run around for a minute or play Simon Says or, stretch or go get a drink of water, whatever it is to try to get them to be a little bit more active. It's screens all day, so if they can have a screen break with their eyes, that is ideal. And we're also providing them with other activities to do that's independent. We do not want members, going on YouTube right in between their Zoom classes if we can avoid it. We are also tracking their work completion. So how do we track every single member's assignment? The truth is that it's a partnership between Boys and Girls Club. We are providing the safe, supportive environment, and we're trying to encourage members and support them in getting their work done. There's also the parents' roles. So they are ultimately the last line of defense for the homework, which is now Boys and Girls Club work completion. And then there's also the teachers whose primary role is to educate. So if we can really maintain the emotional and social wellness of the group and provide opportunities for kids to take breaks, be active, stay motivated, that's our primary goal right now in our clubs during the school day. I want to emphasize that we are not just school support. We are so much more than just distance learning. Our organization has, a prolific mission that continues to play out even with COVID-19 and our new structure of the program. So now more than ever, we really do depend on our team to connect with the members and build relationships and a sense of community. We need our team to provide consistent structures for the day of their kids. We want to check in with kids emotionally and provide opportunities for them to share their feelings and be open about what they're going through. And we want to find opportunities to play, be silly, and spend time being active. Boys and Girls Club can really be a protective factor to the mental health of our kids if we are really working on seeing them authentically and building those connections and reducing their sense of isolation. Here you'll see one way that we do that. So just like in programs before, we set expectations with our kids. So you'll see here, this is one club, I think it's Lou Casey Park Club, created this bulletin board with a daily shared expectation checklist for kids. So they come in with their device charged, their headphones are in their backpack, they know what their schedule is. This is just an example of some expectations you might come up with kids around distance learning, so that it's very transparent what's expected of them and their role. And here you'll see how we might reinforce those expectations. So we've got on the right-hand side, many clubs have a version of this master Zoom tracking schedule where it has every member's name and their schedule for the day, and even like a little column for their passwords so that it's all posted and easily accessible. So you might be asked to help create one of these systems at your club, or it might be in existence already. Over here, there's also a whiteboard that says, have you finished your homework? And it has the members that are in that groups listed. That is a communication tool for AM to PM staff, so that if an afternoon staff person comes in to relieve the morning team, they can say, Alex, it looks like he finished, Brianna's good, but oh, down here, Emir's not all the way done. So I need to make sure to focus on supporting Emir with his work. On the left-hand side, you can see that this member, Bentley, this is another way we reinforce expectations. His goal, you can see at the bottom, is just simply the one targeted goal for Bentley. I will stay in my seat or on the carpet during my work time. So we're not going to overload Bentley with too many behavioral goals at once. That's his one goal, and that's the goal we're tracking and reinforcing. And then as he gains skills in that area, we can then move on to other things. So we're going to reinforce those expectations. So here you'll see some ways that we can kind of recognize positive behavior and help reinforce those expectations as well. So on the left, many clubs have a version of a sticker chart for mask wearing. So there's the mask master at some clubs. And, depending on the development of your kids, stickers can be highly motivating. So the mask master is every once in a while throughout the day, you can pause the group and say, okay, everyone, it's mask master time. And you look around, and anyone who's got their mask appropriately covering their face the right way above their nose gets a sticker. And then at the end of the week or the end of whatever goal that you set, they can choose a prize, or there's some kind of celebration to recognize those members that are being caught being good. Over here on the right-hand side, there's a shout-out wall. So this team actually created these little slips of paper that members can grab throughout the week and write a shout out to a friend in the group or to a team member, or whoever it is that's doing something nice for them. And then it goes up on the wall. And then once a week, these are taken down and the team member can read them out loud to the group to kind of do the public recognition, and then send them home to share at home with their families as well. Just one more piece of formal kind of recognition to share, but these kids are Youth of the Month at the Lucchese Park Club. So each of the cohorts selected one of their members that was working on something that had shown improvement, whether it was just logging into Zoom with a good attitude. That might have been somebody's achievement. Another would be completing, X amount of assignments a day. Just formal ways that we build into our clubs to kind of recognize kids and things for them to look forward to. So one last note on that. So having theme days or spirit days or any kind of extra fun activities to look forward to built into the club day or built into the week or built into the month. They add so much value, especially now more than ever when there's not as many things as we normally would look forward to. We can create that for our kids. This is a photo of a camp trophy that was started over summer that is continuing to gain momentum at our Brooks Road Club. So they choose, similar to the certificates I just shared, they're choosing a behavior to work on as a club together. And then as members improve in their entire group, then the group gets recognized with this trophy, and the members can glue stuff to it or decorate it any way that they want to, and have it in their room for the week. And then it's presented at the next huddle to the next group that is working on the next piece. So for this slide, it shows, I mentioned that we're more than distance learning. This is a team member, Viviana, and her club member at Cloverdale. And this member was just stuck on Zoom. She saw him starting to melt down, and she invited him to a TikTok battle. So let's see if I can make this
Let's go. Oh, Dylan! Yeah, Dylan!
So you can see Vivi was looking for ways to capitalize on movement and having fun and taking a screen break to really just brighten the day of this kid. Over here on the right, this is our Monroe Club, and what you're about to see is a club huddle. So we do have, this is just the class by themselves, not an all club huddle, just this socially distanced group. And the kids are sitting to the left. You can't see them, they're out of the frame, but they're cheering on this fruit roll-up battle.
Oh, Dylan! Yeah, Dylan!
So you could hear the cheering and the joy happening at club. It's just a silly little thing, but it brightens everyone's day. That was our team member Miguel, who was just cheering on his group and finding ways to incorporate fun and stuff to look forward to. That's what we're all about here at Boys and Girls Club. So for this slide, it just kind of outlines the different roles and responsibilities that are present at our club. So we have a program coordinator and program assistants role versus our program director. So our coordinators they're usually about 15 to 25 hours a week. They are making sure that their group is safe so that your group has all policies and procedures being followed. You are providing structure and guidance to members during their distance learning, and you're providing them with those backup activities for when they're done early. And also, if you're staying there later or if you're finding pockets of time throughout the day, you're executing high quality activities with kids. So you're coming up with, we're going to do a soccer tournament, or we're going to do a pastel art project, or whatever it is. Our program directors are support of those folks. So they work 30 to 40 hours a week. They are ensuring that the policies and procedures are followed club-wide. They provide structure and guidance to the team on how to conduct distance learning and supporting that. And they're also the go-between for parents and schools. The club leads provide the team with resources and coaching to support self-guided activities and on-the-spot games. So they might give you some activities to do if you need support with that. And they also support with supplies and printed program activities, things like that. So the idea is that every single team member takes responsibility on the clock with following our protocols, but also off the clock when you're at home on the weekends or in public in your life. We ask that you do follow the guidelines around social distancing, wearing a mask, washing hands, staying out of areas that are currently not open. And that is to really just keep everybody safe and everyone accountable so that you can show up as your best self for work with as much limited exposure as possible. So the way we kind of think about that is there's some things we can control. We can control our own actions, our positive attitude, if you are following the regulations, and then there are some things we can't control. So the amount of toilet paper at the store, how long this will last, how other people are reacting, whether others are wearing masks, etc. But there is actually a lot that we can control. And if we really commit to doing it together as a team, it gets a little bit easier. So this is just a funny little photo of like a reminder that we don't want to touch our face. But the funny part about this is at first when we started doing all of these different procedures, it was a little bit of a struggle at first to remember not to touch your face. I didn't realize how many times a day I touch my face until I started trying to do this. But now it's more automated, it's more automatic because we do have those routines in place. And it becomes a lot easier once you are practicing it daily so that you really do get to automate it. So here, that's what our hope is. We want to provide guidance and protocols for our club so that you all can create those routines in club that support these kind of 5 bullets. And if we have routines around those, we're going to really be as safe as possible and provide the safest possible experience for our kids in our clubs. So we're going to take each of these kind of 5 bullets one at a time to go through. But the way that we have structured the protocols, we do a staff and member health screening. We're grouped into cohorts that don't really intersect or they don't really interact together. We have specific mask requirements. We do physically distance and we hand wash. So each of our team members, when they come to work, they do a health check screening, and our members do the exact same health screening every day. So we're checking on everybody's symptoms to make sure that there are no active symptoms. We are also taking everyone's temperature with our hands-free thermometers that tell us if we're in the danger zone or if anyone does have a slight fever. And then we're also asking everybody, do you know someone have you been in contact with someone that's been recently sick or has a positive COVID test? And then if so, like, let's take the next steps to see, to kind of assess what that looked like before we actually interact with others in the club. So we're going to get to another slide about this, but we're also going to recommend that if you are on the fence, you're not sure whether or not to stay home, you're going to pause on that and ask your vice president of impact or HR for next steps and guidance on that. So our mask requirements, all team members and members are required to wear a mask or face covering. The club has these on hand if you don't have one. Because they do kind of pull your ears a little bit, it's recommended that everyone kind of gets a stash of these anyway, but if you don't have them, we do have them. And then for students too, if they have one that accidentally spilled milk on it or something, or they're upset and got a little bit of tears on it, we do have replacement ones for members to wear. And then we ask everyone to bring their own water bottles. I don't know if you've ever seen a member or a student kind of put their whole mouth on a water fountain, so it's just a hazard. So we don't allow members to use a drinking fountain at this time. Everyone is just using those stations to fill up their water bottles. And we do find that the water bottles with straws are the easiest, so we'd recommend everybody getting one of those, because then you can kind of just lift up the flap underneath your mask and drink through the straw and feel good about it. So this slide is telling us about our cohorts. So I mentioned that each cohort has 12 to 15 members. They have usually 1 or 2 assigned team members, those are the adults that work with that group. And we try to limit the adults that interact with each group because it helps us to track if there was, for example, a positive case. So our club leads might be coming in and out between the groups and to do lunch breaks or things like that, but they have their own set of social distancing requirements that are a little bit more strict, and that is intentional. And then cohorts I mentioned are considered by, are they in the same family? Okay, we've got all the aftercare kids together, all the school day kids together, and then are they in the same family? And from there, can we even group even further by grade level or age group, and then even further by specific behaviors if needed. So hand washing. As soon as you walk into the club, the first thing we do, whether you're a member or a team member, is go wash your hands. So we want to do that while we do have hand sanitizer in every single space. We do hand washing is king because there are good germs that we want to have that will help us stay safe during the flu season, for example. and we don't want to necessarily kill off those. But hand sanitizer is a great tool to use if you do not have easy access to a sink. Most of our school site classrooms do have sinks built in, but if you in a pinch, hand sanitizer will work. And then we want to do that as often as possible, hourly if possible, so that you're just, and then anytime also, if you're sneezing, coughing, if a member sneezes or coughs, like on their computer or something, we want to, you take the opportunity to say, go wash your hands and sanitize the computer and then go back to work. So physical distancing. So this is Nancy Sachs, our Monterey Club lead, and she is holding her physical distancing stick that she made with her members. So they made this and then they practiced with it to help the members understand what 6 feet means and how to play safely and have safe space from each other. So they actually did things like measure 6 feet on the blacktop, see how far you can jump, can you get to 6 feet, and she kind of trained them that way, which is really smart. So we do, into the guidelines, we do want all of our adults to stay 3 to 6 feet away from members and each other as much as possible. We do know that when you're in a group with 12 kids and they all have their laptops on and they're Zooming, it's really impossible to not come into their space if they need help on their computer. So it's totally appropriate for team members to go ahead and type in the password using, onto a member's computer or help them scroll through things if they need help with that. But we just ask that you try to limit the amount of time you spend near any one member within that 3 to 6 feet, because the prolonged timing is what's associated more with the transfer of virus. So we also want to sanitize, computers and things throughout the day as well, so that it's not as much of a risk. We also want members to stay 6 feet apart from each other. So if we're outside, we try to emphasize like independent, fun things to do, hula hoops, jump rope, things like that. But it's okay for them to play soccer. We don't want to avoid things like basketball or football where kids are kind of touching things a little bit more and being in each other's spaces. But, tennis, badminton, those kinds of activities are much more appropriate. And then when staff have to be in multiple cohorts, so I'm thinking of the club lead that might have to give folks lunch breaks, the cohort should be outside. So this is when like a lunch break is happening, let's take the group outside in a nice sunny spot. And then the club lead is asked to try to be 8 feet distant from members because they are moving between groups. So high traffic areas, we also want to have visual markers for kids. So we mark those spaces off with blue tape to avoid congestion. So if you might have seen that on your way into a Boys and Girls Club, we have some marks for sign-in, usually for families, or for members around the bathrooms, the restrooms. So there'll be little X's marked out to mark off 6 feet, so members know where to stand while they wait for their turn. And then team members, when you're taking a rest break, we ask that you don't do it inside the club if possible. So we used to have like staff spaces for folks to congregate, but now it's safer for us and for you if you are actually eating in the car or outside under a tree or somewhere else that's not around other folks. So this is an example of some of the sanitizing tools that you have at club. So this is kind of a 3 system where you have a bucket of that's marked dirty of items that are collected throughout the day. So members do have their own sets of crayons, markers, scissors, those things. They all have their own. It's either in their backpack or in a special cubby that they have. It's their space. But if there are high-touch items that are being passed between kids, so if there's Legos or, somebody else's turn to use the ball, something like that, you might have that in the dirty bucket. And then at the end of the day, those would get dunked in the bleach water where it can sit for a few minutes to sanitize, and then dunked in the water again, and then left out to dry. Now, if it's a special sports equipment or toy that other groups want to use as well, then it might be something that is rotated at the end of the week. So a lot of clubs are deep cleaning and sanitizing their like sports equipment or shared equipment on Fridays. And then on Monday, the groups select their new sports equipment for the week so they can rotate in those high excitement activities if there's a limited, supply, for example, like I'm thinking about the sports equipment in particular that might be limited. And then the playgrounds are still off limits. So the parks are starting to open back up, but we can't really take our kids out to a public park because if a family that's from outside of the club approaches the park and wants to play, then we would actually have to leave that space. So because they cannot really interact with our kids. But some clubs are starting to get permits for exclusive use of the parks and playgrounds for specific times. And same with the school site. So talk to your director before using a park because there are special protocols for using the park that you need to also be aware of if you are in a special exemption case. I think that is everything here. And just want to point out that we don't have fabric toys at clubs, so no stuffed animals, nothing like that. And team members also, we ask that you sanitize the restroom after you use the staff bathroom as well. So some good, strong guidelines. When you're inside with kids, you want the windows and doors open to ventilate the space. We want fans on. If you're chilly, bring a sweater, but we would really like to have the air circulating. If you are sanitizing materials using heavy chemicals, then we want you to wear a mask and eye protection so that you're not ingesting anything accidentally. And then each club has its own cleaning checklist. So we're going to kind of look and see what it's like. This checklist is an example of like daily cleaning tasks versus one-time or weekly kind of deeper cleaning tasks. And this is also found in the COVID safety binder at your clubs for you to reference. But each club has their own version of this, but you can see there are some things that need to be sanitized more often than others. So like bathroom stall handles, the desktops, things like that are more frequent. And then for technology, we don't spray directly onto our technology devices. We will spray our sanitizer onto a paper towel and then wipe things down that way. And then we have the deeper cleaning tasks that I mentioned are maybe rotated between groups, or if it's something that was a high touch use that needs a deeper clean, then those would be, it says down here, 10 minutes to disinfect those toys, let it sit, and then rinse or move it into the clean area. Here's an example of supplies that you will find at every club to support you with cleaning. So we have bleach and water solutions, spray bottles, wipes, gloves, our thermometers, wellness check logs, painter's tape for social distancing markers, goggles, masks, and of course your safety binder. This is just a quick overview. This is your shift cleaning duties, and it really does vary by club and how much prep time folks have. So this is not exact at all, but it's just a snapshot of what it could look like. So depending on if you have more prep time in the morning or in the afternoon, or how the lunch schedule, break schedule works out, folks will be assigned different cleaning tasks that are, or duties that are to be completed. So I'm not going to read too much into this because you will have your own specific list at club, but it's just an example. And the idea is that if we do all of the things that I kind of walked through, we're social distancing, we're health screening and tracking, we're sterilizing, high touch surfaces, we're wearing our masks, we have so many layers of protection. We really are being as safe as we possibly can. So it's really, really important that we do all four, because they're kind of like layers of cheesecloth. cloth with holes in it so that they kind of line up. But if you're doing all four, you have a really good seal and we're really well protected. For this slide, we're just trying to acknowledge that with coronavirus, there are folks that are more at risk than others of contracting it, and we want to be very clear that we are aware of this and that the role of folks that are working in clubs does interact with the public. So, there is a chance that folks will come into contact with or be exposed. We do want to just, ask folks to reflect and take that into account, when you're working with kids, that this is just a piece of the job, and be aware of that. So that being said, should you stay home? Maybe you woke up and you have a fever, or someone else in your household might have cold or flu-like symptoms and you're not sure what is the deal. You can go ahead and call us before you come in and we can walk you through what to do. So we have our vice presidents of Impact, Dana McCune and Jason Weiss. Those folks would be the ones that kind of walk you through, and we could also call our HR Holly, who can support you with that as well to help you make the best decision for you. Again, we're not doctors, so ultimately they might say, hey, why don't you go ahead and call your advice nurse or call Kaiser or call somebody who can help you make that decision, because ultimately we can't diagnose anything. But I do want to just assure everyone that if you did feel sick or you are not going to be able to come in, we would not tell everybody. That's a privacy issue of why someone can't come in anyway, but we're not obligated to say anything to team members or members unless there's a positive coronavirus case reported. That being said, there is a protocol. So if there was a positive test, let's say you were out and you didn't feel good, and then the next day you got a test and you got your results back, we would want you to immediately let us know the results so that we can make sure that anyone who might have been exposed is, safe, and we can close the club if needed, and, all of these pieces. So this slide has all the phone numbers of folks that would be involved. And then we would, if there was a coronavirus exposure, we would probably close the class that was, that had the exposure so that we could deep clean it, and we would only open back up to that group after we were sure that there were no more positive tests, or that we have waited the appropriate amount of time for the virus to dissipate. So in the event that there was somebody not feeling good, or if you're trying to self-diagnose, or talking to your nurse, these are the kinds of questions that would be asked to determine whether or not we needed to actually close a group or not based on somebody feeling sick. So did the person have a positive test is one of the questions. Were they actually exposed to someone positively? Was their mask being worn in that situation? Were you around this person for an extended period of time? Did you have direct contact? Was social distancing being practiced? So in our clubs, we wear masks, we practice social distancing, we do not linger near anybody that we are interacting with. As long as we're doing everything that we have guidelines in place for. Lastly, there is a waiver that does need to be signed that following this training, so hopefully that is printed out for you. If you do not have it, then please ask so that we can make sure that you have that. So we'd like you to take these last few minutes to kind of read over that team member waiver and go ahead and sign it. That does need to be returned into HR. Take also a moment to just review any questions you might have. Jot those down, because we do want to make sure that you have a chance to ask those and get answers on your direct questions. So take a moment to jot down any questions and also read the team member waiver and sign that. So our resources and next steps, so you're going to turn in your waiver that you signed to bring to HR to track. So if you are not at the office right now, or if you're at home, we do need to bring that on your first day to club to turn into your club lead so that they can go ahead and send that over to HR. That is a requirement in order to work with kids. We have a COVID safety binder at your club that has all of the information we reviewed today in this training for you to reference. There's also in that binder 19 no contact games, just a handout that your club lead can make a copy of for you so that you have that. It's just fun ideas for games that are appropriate with social distancing. And then there's 5 quick social emotional check-ins handout. Those are to use throughout the day to build connection with your kids and to try to create a routine around community building so that, again, to cut down on the isolation and help Boys and Girls Club be a protective factor in their lives. So that's just a quick handout that can support you with that. And then bring your questions sheet with you to your club. And if you feel like you still have questions after that, you can also email me, Katie Welch at kwelch@bgcsonoma-marin.org, or anybody, our vice presidents, our HR person, anybody that you have further questions with. We are so happy to support you. Thank you so much for your time today.